Hello everyone and welcome to another Creative Edge video blog. I'm your host Andrew, and this week I'm going to talk about a little Photoshop technique. It's a retouching technique and it's called frequency separation. It's a great little technique and it can really help you out of some tight spaces sometimes. It sounds complicated. It's not as complicated as it sounds. Basically, frequency separation is separating your image into effectively, well, as it sounds, two frequencies, high frequency and low frequency. The high frequency layer would, it contains the detail in the image, all that kind of gritty, kind of hard lines and all that kind of thing. And the low frequency part contains all the color information in a very kind of blurred and soft way. And you, by combining those two layers, you get your normal image, but it means you can edit one or the other. So you can work on just the colors or just the details, and that can be extremely useful. So let's have a look at a little bit of frequency separation. So if we jump over to Photoshop. So here we have an image from a shoot I did a while ago, and what I'm going to do is it's good at getting rid of things like shadows, frequency separation. So I'm going to have a go at using it to get rid of these shadows on the floor here. So how do you do frequency separation? Well, what you need to do is you need to create two new layers, because we're going to work non-destructively as much as possible. So I'm going to keep the background layer here and create two more layers, which will be our separation. And to do that, it's Command or Control J to create two new layers. And so your top layer is going to be the high. So the top layer is going to be your high frequency, and the bottom layer is going to be your low frequency. Now there's two ways of doing this. There's two different ways of creating the frequency separation. So I'll go through each, and they both do the same thing. It's just a different way of getting there. So the first way of doing this is to go to your high layer and go to Filter, Other, High Pass. Click on that. And you want to set this somewhere just where quite a low number, just where you're starting to see some of the detail come through. You don't want too much detail. About 3 or 4 is about right. So I've got it set to 3 there. So I'm going to try 3.5. I don't want to go any higher than that, I don't think, as it's getting a little bit too detailed. So we'll go 3.5. Okay. And we're going to turn that layer off, and we're going to work on the low layer now. Now you need to remember that the number that you put into the high pass, which is 3.5. So you go to the low and you go Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and you want to put the same number in here that you put into the high pass, so 3.5. And click OK. Then go back to your high layer, high frequency layer, and then you want to change that to linear light and put the opacity to 50%. Okay, and that should then look exactly like the original layer. And if we solo the background layer, you can see there's no difference between the two. But what you've done is you've separated it out. So on your low frequency, if I turn that on, you've got your blurred, you've got your kind of blurred colours here, very soft. And just turn on the high pass layer. In fact, if I turn off the background, you can't really see it because it's on a blending mode. put that back to normal and 100%, and that's where your detail is. So put that back to 50% and to linear light and turn on the low pass, and there you go. It looks exactly the same as your background layer, switching between them again, except you've separated it out. There's another way of doing this. As well. So starting from just the background layer again, you duplicate the layer, so Control or Command J once, twice. I don't know why it's making that noise. And then what you do is you go to your, I'll rename them, so that's my low, and that's my high. So go to your low and go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur again, and we'll do 3.5 again. Click OK. Then you go to your high pass layer, and providing you're working on an 8-bit image, your settings for this, because what you're going to do is you're going to do Apply Image. So you go to Apply Image, and in here you need to change the layer to the low pass layer, your blurred layer there. You need your blending mode to be on Subtract, and you want your offset at 128, and your invert unticked. So basically you mimic these settings, click OK, and you can see straight away it looks like the high pass layer we did, and then you put that onto linear light, and there we go, and it's done exactly the same thing. Okay, and there we go. Now what you can then do is you can work on these layers separately. Now it's great for getting rid of different colours or changing colours without affecting detail. So if I go to the low frequency layer, I keep wanting to call it high pass and low pass, but it's not. Low frequency. And what I can do is I can get a brush, I can select the colour that I want to change it to, and then I just paint in. Now I'm going to do this roughly and go over things because I want to show you some stuff. So I'm going to go over here as well. So you can see the shadow's pretty much gone. Now you have to be aware of edges, and you can see there's an edge along here. So you go to your high frequency. I've got my healing brush. Make sure it's set to current layer, not current and below, just current layer. And just go along that edge there, and it disappears. Now you can see here I've gone over onto the carpet, and you can see that it's changed the colour to match, but it's kept the detail. And you can see on here the texture is still here, everything's still here in terms of detail, but the colour's changed. And so, I mean, for instance, you know, if I wanted to extend this background, then it'd be very easy for me to just, you know, use the healing brush to get rid of the detail that I don't want. And there you go. And you can see I'm starting to expand that background. Okay. So it's great at getting rid of things like that. It's great for things like getting rid of shadows, especially on, you know, a kind of detailed ground like rocky ground and stuff like that. You can just work on the low pass layer, the low frequency layer, and just get rid of those shadows. It's also great at getting rid of things like suntan lines and things like that, where, you know, it's just a color cast basically. It's also used a lot in beauty retouching. We'll show a little bit here, because it gives you a little bit more control. So what you can do is, without affecting kind of the colour, you can go in here and take out some of the detail that you don't want. So I'm just on my healing brush. Make sure, as I say, you're set on current layer only, and you can just use it to take out, you know, any wrinkles or spots or anything like that. You know, that kind of thing, and you're just working on the detail. As you can see. Sometimes you may find that it leaves a slight colour change, so you just go to your low frequency and you can get rid of the colour change as well. And there you have it. And it's just a great way of taking control of your image a little bit more in order to do a little bit of retouching. Here's another example. On this shoot, the model had some jeans on when she came out, brand new jeans, which had actually left these kind of tiger stripe marks on her legs. So I've done a frequency separation here, and what you can do, grab the brush, you can work on these kind of tiger stripes and get rid, oops, wrong colour, make sure you select the right colour, and you can just, you know, with a paintbrush you can just paint in on here, getting rid of that colour cast, or you could do the healing brush or clone stamp and do the exact same thing, and you're leaving the detail behind. That's still there. I mean, you know, when I zoom in, you can still see, you know, all the kind of the skin kind of texture. You're not touching that. That's still there. All you're doing is changing the colour. You can see down here especially, you know, all you're doing is that. Now, she's got a little bit of a sore area on her foot here. So, I mean, for that, now, I mean, if I go to the blur, you can see it's pretty much not there on the blur. So, I mean, the detail bit's going to take that out for the most part. Okay, it leaves a slight red area, so you can just go here and get rid of that. Take out some of this red, that kind of thing. So it's great for that kind of retouching, where you've got a colour cast, you've got some suntan issues going on, you know, anything where, you know, you want to kind of change part of an image but not, you know, leave the detail, change the color, but leave the detail, or change the detail and leave the color. You know, there's more work that needs doing on that, but you get the idea. So that's a little technique for you. It's a little Photoshop kind of tool to go in your toolbox. So there you go. So thank you very much for watching. And remember, you can help me out by subscribing to this channel, and that is pretty much all the payment that I ask from you is to subscribe. And if you like what I do, share it, put it on your Facebook page, tell your friends, that kind of thing. That's great. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.